I was being. This always happens. There's someone at the other end saying, "Wrap up, wrap up," and I was thinking, I've got my caftan question, but I feel as though the caftan question had to disappear. So apologies for that. But we did get references to mushrooms.
It did, yeah. Michael Douglas basically said this is a film best watched off your head on.
Anyway, so it was very. I mean, he was very classic kind of production top. Hollywood star. Nice to see you again, Simon.
Yeah. Well, it was a great interview.
Well, it was just an interview with Michael Douglas, who makes these things very easy. But, you know, it's always fascinating to talk to people like that.
Yeah. Great interview. Shame about the film. The first Ant-Man movie.
I know you were
yeah, I know. First Ant-Man movie was going to be done by Edgar Wright, and then, you know, he moved on, ended up not being done by him. And then Peyton Reed came in, and the result was a bodge, which was a film that needed to be far weirder than it was, but it was still a financial success. Then we had Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now we have, I think Ant-Man and the Wasp was 11th highest grossing film of 2018. So now Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Michael Douglas actually did a pretty good synopsis of the plot there, but just quickly, Scott Lang's daughter, Cassie Catherine Newton, has accidentally opened a portal to the subatomic world by creating a transmission system. She's dragged into that world with her dad, followed by Evangeline Lilly's Hope, Wasp, and her parents, said there, played by Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas. Turns out the quantum realm is full of peopleoids, most notably Jonathan Majors Kang, who is the MCU's new big bad wolf. And he is a terrific presence. I mean, I think I was first aware of him in The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which is a terrific film. He's in Harder They Fall, Devotion. He was Emmy nominated for Lovecraft County.
And he's a Superbank character in Creed 3.
Which I haven't seen yet, but you have.
Yes.
And he is the film's strongest suit. And I'm not going to spoil anything. To be honest with you, I'm not sure that I could. I could give away some cameos, which I won't do, obviously, because, you know, all roles that I know about. Here's the thing. This is basically, imagine that you're in the world of Star Wars, Mos Eisley Cantina, but Star Wars, the prequels, when George Lucas has discovered CG as opposed to making, you know, rubber creations. It's a film in which, you know, someone is trying to do something really terrible. Some rebels are trying to stop them doing something terrible. There's a lot of family history and a huge amount of green screen. There's a bit of The Matrix in there. There's a bit of everything in there. This is, as Michael Douglas said, like he was reading it off, I think this is the opener for MCU Phase 5, yes. Whatever that was. According to the piece in Empire with the interview with Kevin Feige, this is where the multiverse saga really starts to erupt. So it's meant to be a new beginning. It feels so old. It feels so tired and so tiring. The script, which is by Jeff Loveness, who is an alumnus of Rick and Morty, is, I think, one of the worst Marvel scripts I've ever come across. It is all exposition and absolutely no substance. Paper-thin characters introduced with speeches about who they are and what their backstory is. The multiverse is, you know, hugely invoked. And I'm sorry, at this point in the phase, all I can think of is, yeah, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness got its ass kicked by Everything Everywhere All at Once, a funny little indie picture that Jamie Lee Curtis was tweeting, look how well we're doing in compared to this stuff. The problem with, I mean, I think I like Everything Everywhere because it's got an adventurous attitude to it. The problem with the Marvel Universe attitude to the multiverse is it just means we can do everything whenever we want and nothing has any consequence and nothing matters. This is the very definition of a load of stuff. There is some funny stuff with Paul Rudd doing the wisecracking thing. There is some portentous Doctor Who stuff when it's the biggest big thing of any big thing that ever was big or small. There is some smashy bashy stuff. You know, it's all very by the book and you know it's going to end up with two people having a fist fight. The first Ant-Man, which was going to be directed by Edgar Wright, with a script written with Joe Cornish, when it finally ended up as the film that came out, its problem, and I said this in my review, was it's not weird enough. It's much too straightforward. The problem with this is it's got weirdness all over it. I mean, oh, you know, walking this and moving that and blah, blah, blah. None of it seemed strange or in any... It just seemed like a huge amount of CG work, a huge amount of just idly-piddly design work, little thingy happening over here and little stuff over here. None of it engaging, none of it interesting, none of it exciting, none of it surprising, with the exception of the introduction of a villain whom, had this been 10 years ago, I might have been thrilled by the prospect of it. But I really, really felt this has run its course. I don't care. I don't care, and I'm not entirely sure that anyone else. There's a whole generation of people for whom, you know, Endgame, Infinity Wars, that was the end of something, and that generation of people, I think, has lost interest in something. Now, clearly, there is still an audience. I said the second film ended up being very profitable. I did think this was rubbish. I thought it was really, really sloggingly boring fare, and I wanted it to end, and then it ended, and then I stayed for the first of the mid credits bits, which was a bit.
There's another one.
I know, but I left because I thought, I'm sorry, I've given you 2 hours of my life. I don't care what happens in the next.
You missed all the list of all the VFX specialists.
Yeah, who all worked very hard.
And then at the end of all that, there is another appearance of.
Yeah, be careful. Be careful about what you say. No, you can't.
That bloke comes back.
Yeah.
And he's wearing this stuff, and then he's being watched by that other guy who's been on this show before, and he's in the crowd. I enjoyed it a bit more than you, just because I found the jokes quite funny. And
there's a couple of jokes, but it's a 2-hour film.
And Paul Rudd I do find him engaging. However, when I mentioned these little bits at the end of the credits, because it did make me feel a bit like my cough. This is going to go on forever. There is no stopping. This is a story, and you're absolutely right. This multiverse thing means there are no consequences to anything. Someone dies, doesn't matter. We can just go back. And I think, as Michael Douglas said in that interview, Jonathan Majors' Kang the Conqueror can go forwards and backwards into other Marvel movies. So there is no sense of peril anyway. But and again, maybe this is where your friend would say you're not a teenage boy or girl or whatever, but I was thinking this stuff is just.
Thank you for calling Sherry Lansing my friend.
This is going to keep on happening unless people stop going to see them, in which case it will keep on going.
Michael Douglas saying it's a world that will be appreciated with hallucinogens.
He does that thing about, socialism's got a bad rap.
Yeah, I know, but those are interesting moments in a 2-hour slog of a movie.
Yeah.
And then it stops. But it doesn't stop.
It goes on forever.
It goes on forever and ever and ever. So done with it all.
Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's Take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.